All right, fellas, we're live and we are in charge. So tonight, we're mixing it up. The cave calls have been roundtable discussions. They've been butt chewings. They've been, some aha moment conversations. But tonight, we're just going to flip it back old school, and we're just going to talk to two dudes that are rocking this out, and they're just going to tell us a little bit about their stories, where they're from, what they're doing. And one thing I want to make sure we do tonight, guys, and don't let me get off topic on this, is one of the criticisms we get sometimes on conference calls, and sometimes it's fair and sometimes it's not, but is people want to take away tangible tips. Like, I want to walk away from this call with a couple, 3 tips that hey, Fred and Mike said these are things they did, they do. I want to be able to take those away from this call, so don't even forget to be direct about those tips for those that are listening tonight. So without further ado, here's what we'll do. Fred and Michael, if you'd introduce yourselves, tell us where you hail from, what your rank is, give us a little 2-minute version about yourself, and then we'll go from there. We'll start with you, Michael. Go ahead.
Mike Biggs out of Fresno, California. My wife and I are a triple-double diamond team. What else did you want?
That's all right. Fred, tell us where you're at and where you're coming from.
Seattle, Washington. My wife's a double. I'm an emerald.
Okay, rock on. Mike, we're going to start with you. Give me your, just a few minutes about your story, man. How you guys came into this.
Yeah.
No where you're at, where you're going. Give it to me.
Sure. My wife heard about this probably about 4 months before she started. Somebody told her about it. She brought it home, showed me what it was, and I immediately told her, from a business standpoint, you got to sell this thing. She had been in a multi-level marketing company before. She said, no way do I want to get back into this. Holiday came around. She ate a little too much and said, I'm going to give the wrap a try, as most probably did.
Right.
All of a sudden, she saw results immediately and said, holy cow, I got to get on this thing. And so we started in November. I was a financial advisor with J.P. Morgan, and by the 4th month, we had, she was busting her butt. We had hit by that time, we had hit a 6-figure income, and so I was going to go independent. But then we sat down and we talked about it. It was like, okay, either I can go independent or I can just go ahead and retire, do this with you, and we can, shoot for the stars.
All right, I got to slow you down, bro, because you're rolling through some big stuff here. You started in November of 12. Let's specify that.
Correct. Yeah.
And in 4 months, say it again so everyone hears that again.
Within 4 months, we hit a 6-figure income.
All right, go on.
Wow. And so I retired April 2nd, and just been rolling with it now. Was already kind of involved. Obviously, I have a very large clientele at J.P. Morgan, so was kind of backdooring people into Michelle just because I couldn't directly sell them, just because it would be a conflict of interest. But now, yeah, it's full board.
And how did Michelle hear about this to begin with? You may have said that and I missed it.
Yeah, her enroller is Charlie Harlow out of Fresno, and Charlie had posted some pictures on Facebook. And Charlie and she they knew each other from before, but she had saw Charlie's pictures, got in contact with her. And like I said, she didn't do it the first time. Shortly after Thanksgiving, she's like, I got to give it a try. Did it, and that was it.
Right on, man. And you walked away from J.P. Morgan when again?
April 2nd.
April 2nd. So, I mean, this is really your first real month of being a solo flight with It Works.
Correct.
You guys are 100% all in, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And how's that?
Absolutely. It's fantastic. I mean, you can't complain when the checks keep increasing, can you?
Right. I didn't even think about this being a call we're doing on payday, so everyone's going to be in a good mood on this call.
Exactly. No, honestly, I mean, the way I look at it is this is no different from what I was doing before. I mean, we're pretty much we're in the sales business, so to speak. I mean, yeah, we're enhancing people's lives. We're helping health and wellness. We're also helping increase their financial situation if that's what they're looking for. But I mean, we're all in sales, so it's really no different than what I was doing as a financial advisor. It's just a different product that you can kind of grasp a little more around than something that's intangible, such as returns or supposed returns in the finance field. Right. So to me, it's no different. It's a lot simpler and it's a lot easier because all I have to do is just go out there, start to talk to people. I ask one question: what do you do for a living? They tell me, and I know they're going to turn around and ask for the same thing,
right.
And that just opens the door right up.
It's amazing how simple that little thing is. Fred, you're a West Coaster, too. That's, again, coincidence. I didn't mean to grab two West Coasters tonight, but you're a little further north, a little different world up there. Tell us a little bit about your story, man, how you got into this business. You know, you made a great post on Facebook today. I shared that thing. It's a great story. You know, just tell us a little bit about how you got into it and your progression through this and where you are right now.
Jen got invited by a friend of hers from church to go to this wrap party thing, and so she comes home that night, and I'm sitting there working on my computer. I own a roofing company, and I'm sitting there working on my computer, and she comes up to me, and she says, Fred, I can't think of any of my friends that wouldn't want to try this. I think I'm going to sell it. And I said, okay, whatever. And she went right to work. I just kept focusing on the roofing. I'd done multi-level before. I was excited about it, but we'd never found something that really worked. And so I just sort of, the roofing company's successful, I'm just going to keep doing that. Well, she promoted her first month to Ruby and started paying attention. Her second month, she promoted again to Emerald, and now I wanted to prove her wrong, the snake oil that she's doing. So I tried the wrapping for myself.
Right.
And it took me 4 wraps or so. It took about 3, and I was like, great, it's not really doing that much. And after the 4th wrap, I took my own picture in the mirror, and I looked, and I couldn't believe the difference. And I hadn't done, I mean, I'd made a point of still eating the teriyaki and the burgers, but I had a noticeable difference, and I went, wow, this is cool. And so Jen went double diamond in 4 months. And about that time, I started looking at myself going, man, look how many hours I'm putting in this industry, in the roofing industry, and something's got to change. So in November, I hired a project manager to start taking over some of what I was doing, and it was then that Jen and I went to the conference in Florida, and that was a big aha moment for me.
I don't know how you walk away from that not with eyes wide open, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I'd been to a couple conferences before with other MLMs, and this was totally different. I mean, the worship service, you know, that's right down my alley. It was just really cool, and I walked away from that, and Jen had 2 of her legs actually sort of, 2 of the key people sort of walked away from it, both of her emeralds, and at that point, so she had to really start over, building over, and that was interesting to watch. And I remember looking at a post from Pam Souter just a couple weeks ago that said, if you wash, rinse, and do it all over again,
right.
Repeat.
Rinse, repeat, yeah.
And that's what Jen's done. She's continually focused on that. And now that I've sort of started coming in and helping, it's amazing to watch the people in our organization that are doing the steps to success are the ones that are succeeding.
Yep, no doubt about it. So are you all in now? I mean, tell me is that where you're at? I mean, you know you're hiring a guy to run your business, but are you all in?
I would say I'm probably 75% in.
Okay.
I'm at the beginning of the stepping out, but
gotcha. Okay, that's fine. And I didn't ask you all this, but you guys tell us about your families too. I mean, everyone's family situation is different. Fred, you've got, I think, 5 boys, right? Is that right?
5 boys, yeah.
And Biggs, what do you got? What are you guys sporting?
We've got 2 little girls.
2 girls. Okay, right on. So, you know, both of you guys have different stories, different paths. You know, Mike's gone all in. Fred's working there. I'll start with you again, Mike. What's your favorite part of this gig? I mean, what do you dig the most about what you're doing right now?
I'll be honest with you. It's the change of lifestyle, the family life. I mean, I could say going out there and meeting people. I could say going out there and actually blitzing. When I say blitzing, I'm not talking about just dropping cards off at a bookstore somewhere. I'm talking actually going out there and have meaningful conversations with people. I mean, you kind of get a rush when that happens, because whenever they show interest, it's almost like a game. I could say all that, but honestly, for me, it is the complete change in lifestyle. Being able to be with the kids, being not having to miss events, being home when you want. You make your own hours. And not having to work for somebody else is probably the most freeing feeling you could ever have.
Yeah, too. What about you, Fred? I mean, what are you loving most about this gig?
Oh, I came back from conference and I started blitzing, and at first I was nervous as heck, and then it became my passion. I wear a little blitz lanyard around my neck thanks to, Jamie Do Work, who lives out here, and I wear that everywhere I go. And I'm with Mike. I love talking with people, and it's not just about, for me, just handing them a card. I just enjoy watching. And there's times when I don't even say anything, and when my mind's not there, and then they look at that blitz card and they go, "What's that?" And I start sharing it, and I hear this more often than not: "No way, no stinking way, that doesn't work."
Right.
And I love going, "Yes, it does. You got to try it." That's my favorite part of the business.
That's blitzing. The bottom line. I'm like, I love people. I love doubters too. Those are my favorites because they're the easiest ones to communicate with, I think. But those doubters, I'm like, man, if you doubt this, just prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Try this rap, right? Because everybody wants to be right. So I don't know. What would you guys tell? I mean, you guys have different perspectives out there. You're at different stages now. What would you tell men out there? What piece of advice, I guess, would you give to tell them to how to support this business? And that's a really open-ended question. I realize that, but because we all come from different places, we're all at different places. But if you had to generically slap some Biggs and some Fred advice on this thing, what would you tell men of It Works out there about how to support this gig? And I'll start with you again, Mike.
Yeah, get your ego out of the way, right? I mean, I think that most guys have this preconceived notion that you got to be macho and you got to walk out there, and they don't want to have to go up and talk to people. At least that's what I perceive when I hear a lot of people talking about going out and having the blitz or going out there and having to talk to people. Get your ego out of the way. I mean, honestly, this is probably the easiest job in the world, or it's the hardest job in the world. It depends on you. It depends on what you're doing. So for me, it's simply go out there and just talk to people. Flat out, just have normal conversations, and in that conversation, it's going to get brought up about what you do, and then that's when you toss out the blitz card. If you heard the crazy rap thing, it's literally that easy.
Fred, what do you guys? And I just got a message on Facebook, by the way, that someone asked me Fred who. So apparently we've made it this far without saying your last name, Fred. Fred Meyer.
Yeah, Fred Meyer. Yeah. West Coast, they'll know me. I have a store out here.
That's right. Yeah. He's kind of a big deal. People know him. He's got many Leprechaun books. What would you tell the fellas out there how to support your brother?
Yeah, the first thing, I agree with Mike. You got to swallow your pride. You gotta believe in this product, and it's one of those things. I mean, wearing a blitz card around my neck, some people look at that and go, well, that's sort of stupid. Well, there's not a lot of marketing. Facebook can only do so much, and we can't do stuff on TV, so this is how I'm marketing it, and it works. The other thing, and for me, it's been, I had my one aha moment at conference, and it was just between me and God, where I was like, man, Jen's already come so far into business. What's my role going to be? And I sort of had this little word of advice come to me that said, just ask her what you can do to help. Every day, ask, what can I do to help? And that's been, since conference, my little motto is, whatever Jen wants, and that's swallowing the pride, because she's sort of been running the home and I've been out of the home, but now learning to work together and just saying, what can I do to help? And, taking the kids out. I mean, the very first thing she asked me to do was, I want you to watch the training videos in eSuite. So I went and I watched the training videos in eSuite. And anything she asked me to do, I do. Another word of advice to you guys, and my perspective is I'm married, so I don't really know how to run this thing as a single guy. So if married guys out there, listen to your wives. Just listen my biggest thing is trying to always have an answer, and I've got to just listen to her, because she's just trying to process a lot of this time, and then encouraging words when someone Facebooks her, or it's a bad experience, and, the ups and downs in the business. When she's down, I make a point that I'm there to encourage her and say, man, don't give up. You're doing this. You're awesome. You're great. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, man, pride and asking how to help are two huge things for guys. There's no doubt about it. You know, but I've talked to a lot of guys since I've been in this business. You know, I've been mentored, and I have mentored others. And I think something that we sometimes fail to mention, but we need to make a point of, I think what you guys said is so good. You know, we've got to get over ourselves. That pride is a monster. And we've got to be willing to communicate with our spouse. We've got to ask. Mm-hmm. At the same time, we need to be comfortable in our own skin. We've got to be okay with who we are. And I think what I see sometimes is these couples, they get in this and they start working it together, and they don't ask what you just said, Fred. They don't ask, and they have expectations for each other, and no one knows what the other one's doing. I've got a man full of pride and a woman full of anger, possibly, because I've done all this work, and here you are, you just stepped in. You know, what we're finding and what I'm finding in my mentor relationships is, man, we've got to encourage guys and women to be your own person in this and find your own way. You know, what you said, Fred, is huge, and Mike, you as well. Pride and asking are two big parts of this, but on the flip side, we got to keep in mind, too, that, you know, welcome each other's strengths because, you know, we've got to work within our own skin. You know what I mean by that? Like, yeah, no, be your own person. You would agree with that, I would assume.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say, Quinn. I was going to say everybody's going to come with their strengths. I mean, you always hear people talk about increase your weaknesses, work on your weaknesses. I say no. In this, especially if it's a married couple, work on your strengths. I'm going to have strengths that Michelle's not going to have. Michelle's going to have strengths that obviously I'm not going to have.
Yeah.
So you figure out what your strengths are, and that's what you just like a bull through it, you know, just go for it. And that's what's worked for us so far.
Yeah, you got to break down that pride, and you got to ask what Fred was just saying. So let me flip the switch. So what do you say? Because you all know as well as I do how guys communicate. I mean, our mode of communication is just flipping crud at each other. That's what we do. So what do you say to those guys that are flipping crud about you wearing a lanyard around your neck, or you quitting your good-paying job to go work for this crazy rap thing? What do you say to those guys? Mike, I'll start with you again.
You know what? Honestly, because of my size, I don't have many people saying that.
Yeah, hey,
I'm just being honest. I haven't experienced that yet. I've had some people tell me, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy," but I mean, obviously, when they see the lifestyle change, they see the money. I mean, results talk, right? So if you have somebody who's flipping crud, great, then prove me wrong. Like what you said, prove me wrong, try a rap. Or you have somebody say there's no way that you can be successful in this. And that's because that's what I kind of heard whenever I first left finance. Really? We're now making more than even close to what we were making before. Yeah. And you can't argue with results. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Fred, how about you?
Yeah, big thing for me is I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, I really believe in it, and so I've come a long way that I don't really care what people think, but especially with my male friends, you know, in church and around the roofing industry and stuff, I've just learned to just let my actions speak louder than the words, and they are the ones asking the questions, and I don't push. I mean, time is my friend. With my friends, I don't have to get them into this business. My paycheck, you know, when I fully retire from this roofing company, and I've walked away from it, and I've got friends who have been working their butts off for years, doing whatever they're doing, and you know, I'll be walked away from the roofing company, you know, no less than 2 years after my wife started this thing. That will speak volumes to my friends.
Yeah.
I work more on a cold market than my warm market because I don't want to alienate them right now.
Yeah. Sometimes that cold market can be a whole lot easier than that warm market because they know you, they've seen what you've done. They, you know, especially if people have had, you know, have tried a lot of things in their life. You know, we've talked to a lot of folks who have done that. But sometimes your warm market can be the most doubting and the most draining. And so we tell people, hey, hop over, man. Just go to that cold market and start rocking that out. So speaking of challenges, because that kind of leads me into my next question, what for you guys would say, and you know this is a personal question, but what has been your biggest challenge specifically? What has been your biggest challenge in this, Mike?
Again, I would probably say finding out what my place is.
Yeah.
You know, coming from a vice president of investments to, okay, I don't have a title. I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to be doing.
And at best, vice president of your house, right?
Exactly. So it's almost like, the roles reverse when you're the biggest challenge I'm having is just, like I said, the ego. Sometimes I catch myself saying, oh, well, your check and my check, when it's, both of our, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it like, well, she's making more than, that's my biggest challenge, is finding out, okay, where's my place? What are my strengths? What is my role going to be in this? Is it going to be feeding her people? Is it going to be doing reports? Is it going to be doing the cab reports?
Right.
And that's probably the biggest one so far.
How about you, Fred?
Yeah, for me, having had my own company for 12 years, and it's sort of been my baby, even though the wife's done, Jen's done a lot of the paperwork and stuff. For me, I've always felt like I'm working for myself, and, I've been responsible my own time. And the hugest challenge for me has been the relationship changing from working for myself to, in a sense, really working under Jen, because by the time I've come on board now, she knows so much. And learning to take direction and not butt heads and not thinking that I've got answers has been the most challenging thing for us. But I'm encouraged because it's forcing us to take our personal relationship in a different level than it's ever gone, because we've never worked this closely together on anything before, like this. And
totally.
It's been a challenge.
Yeah, it's been a challenge, but it's been one of the, and Lori and I would say the same thing. I think what happens, and Fred, you're not quite there, but you're getting there. Mike's clearly experiencing it now. So, even me being on the call, running the call, I'm glad to hear you say that, Mike, because, dude, one of the hardest things that we have experienced, too, and I left a great paying banking job back, in August of last year, was finding my role in this house, because we have always had a household dynamic that was set up a certain way and functioned a certain way, and it ran a certain way, and it did perfectly well that way. And that whole dynamic has changed. It's turned on its ear when you come home and start being that vice president of your house. So it goes back to that pride and communication, though. I mean, I think what you guys said is so good. You've got to communicate. You've got to work through that. And you kind of swallow your pride sometimes and figure out what roles are working best for each of you, what your strengths are. Like what Mike said, you got to work within your strengths, not find out those weaknesses and try to improve them. I agree with you 100%. I think we need to understand our strengths and weaknesses, but, man, put people in their category of strength and let them rock and roll. That's how we've always figured it. So, well, guys, I want to keep this call short because we have a horrible tendency to roll on. So, again, going back to what I said at the very beginning, tips and tricks, man. Everybody always wants to say, I want to walk away from this with a tangible tip, a tangible trick. What are you guys doing? Steps to success. We know that. But what are you really doing? I'll helm this all day long about steps to success. But people want some tangible things, like the lanyard. That's a good one, that Jamie came up with. But give me a one or two tricks that you got up your sleeve that, what's worked for you in this business? What tips would you give to someone? What's on your heart to share? So, Mike, I'll start with you.
Yeah, no, I wish I could have like a one or two tip thing that said you do this and you do this, it's going to work out great. Steps to success, obviously. Bottom line, though, is your confidence level. If you walk out there and you're unsure of yourself and you're not sure in the product and you're not sure as to whether or not, like, for example, if I go talk to somebody, in the back of my mind I'm thinking, if you ask me and we have a conversation about wraps, you're going to give me your email address. We're going to have a conversation after this. I mean, that's my confidence level when I go out there. My wife's the same way. So that would be my biggest takeaway for people is when you go out there and you talk to people, they're going to sense if you're confident in what you're saying or not. 80% of communication is nonverbal. And if you're not confident in what you're saying and you're not sure of yourself, they're going to pick it up, and they may not know why, but if you're not having a successful closure ratio, I guess we could say, then that's why. They're picking up something because they're not sure because you're not sure.
Gosh, you're so money with that statement. I mean, I could tell you've worked in sales, man, and I dig it because what we found ourselves Sometimes I just sit back and smile at my wife, because from when she started in this to where she is now, hearing her language and how that dialogue has changed so much, how much she understands sales so much better now. And you know what? We like to say that, hey, we don't sell anything. We just talk about a product. But we are always selling everything that we do. And even
Absolutely.
in its simplest form, we're selling ourselves. And so I think what you said is so money, man. I mean, if you're having problems converting, if there's something, I say we have the trifecta of awesomeness. We have a product that works, a business model that works, and timing that works. And so everything about what we're doing works. So if you're not piecing this puzzle together, there's only one thing left that's not working, and that's you. So we got to figure out what it is that you're projecting. What are you doing? What are you not doing that's not working? And most of the time, man, it's that confidence that you're either projecting or you're not projecting. And people either get that or they don't. I don't know how to move them over that hump, but, man, you're so dead on. You project more than people ever realize by your nonverbal cues and what your nonverbal language. So
Exactly.
I think that's a great tip, bro. Great tip. What about you, Fred? What do you think? Give me some tangible tip here.
Yeah, that was on my list. And you were going to ask that question. Information tells, excitement sells. I mean, that is huge. You've just got to be excited about this. And so I'll move on from that. I would challenge all you married guys every day to make it a point to go up to your wife and say, what can I do to help? What can I do to help you? That has altered my life and relationship with Jen. And if you do that and honestly can say, hey, I really want to help you. It's going to help you in this business in a huge way, and do what she asks. Don't just ask, but then do what she tells you to do. And then the other thing is charting. I watched Jen do this weird thing, writing all these charts down and stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with these weird papers, and I tried to tell her she was wasting her time. And then one day it was like it just dawned on me what was happening. She was dreaming on paper. You can only so much information you can get when you're charting from your tree view in eSuite. The rest of charting is you projecting what needs to happen in your business. And so, guys, if you haven't sat down and charted, and if you're not teaching your team to chart, you're missing out on what I think is projecting a lot of the people that are successful in this business. Is they're dreaming on paper. They are writing it down, and they are literally seeing what needs to take place for their business to grow. Charting is huge for Jennifer. The people on her team and on our team that are growing are getting together and charting.
I think that's powerful too, bro. I mean, I've seen my wife spend hours and hours. She still to this day has a binder that's probably 3 inches thick of everyone's chart. I mean, it's insane.
Yes.
It's insane. And and hey, I mean, and she's one of the top earners in the company, so that clearly has paid off for her. There's no doubt about it. So I couldn't agree more with you. We've got a couple minutes here, so I want to ask a different targeted question that comes up a lot. But how do you guys blitz? And I know that's a really open-ended question, and I'll let you answer it however you want. But I get asked that a lot, and I'm sure you guys do too. So as guys who are actively working this business, I know, Fred, you talked a little bit about the lanyard, but let's throw the lanyard out the window for just a second. I'm not suggesting that you literally do that, but what do you do to actually blitz your business? Mike, I'll start with you.
Yeah, no, I've always got something that says it works on it. And, again, to me, blitzing is nothing more than getting rapport with somebody. I mean, period. I understand that, blitzing with the cards, and you go out there and you hand cards out and you pass them out. I guess that version of blitzing isn't what I see as effective. What I see as effective blitzing is going out there and having a meaningful conversation with every single person that I can, and when in that conversation, again, just from the rapport process, what I do for a living is going to come up. Or after a few minutes of talking, they're going to ask me, so what's this? It works. And then that's when the blitzing begins. Have you heard of crazy rap thing? You have a blitz card on you. Here you go. So that's my version of blitzing. So
all right. Well, I think you're dead on. We preach and teach that the blitz card is merely a tool. The true blitz is you. And
right.
So if you will humor me, and I didn't pre-warn you on this, but so we're out there in public, man, and and for whatever reason we're having a conversation. So here's my question to you: what do you do? What's your answer?
So what do you do? I'm glad you asked me that. Have you heard that crazy rap thing?
No, I've never heard of it. What are you talking about?
Great. Here, and I break out a card. Here's what it is. Here's what it does.
So you always got to be prepared, strapped with the card, right?
Pretty much, or your phone. If you have an iPhone.
That's a good call, too, yeah.
The best thing is you got an iPhone, it gets even better because then you've got pictures, you got everything else right at your fingertips.
Yeah, right on. So, Fred, I know your go-to is that lanyard, and Jamie's spot on with that. I've seen him work it, so there's no doubt it works. And I don't necessarily want to exclude that if you don't want to, but what do you do to blitz your business?
My big thing is I've only gone out once, quote unquote, to actually blitz. Blitzing as an event.
Yep.
I live blitzing wherever I go. I am asking, have you heard about this crazy rap thing? Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a big long thing. I use the blitz card as the tool. Have you heard about this crazy rap thing? And then wait for the answer. I don't rush right into it. And then I'm pointing at the blitz card. Well, this is what it is. Show them. You can put it anywhere on your body, and then flip it over. This is what it does. And I wait for that. Nuh-uh, no way. No, seriously. And then their next question is, inevitably, does it work? Yes, it does work. And then another tip that I've used is I keep a little Post-it note on the back of my blitz cards.
Yep.
And when I give them that blitz card and I say, hey, this is my contact information, can I get your email address
Yep.
so that I can send you some before and after pictures? You're going to be amazed. I try not to leave anybody without getting their contact information because I want to at least have the opportunity to send them something and to try to, pass the sale on to Jen, so to speak.
No, that is what you just said is money, and I don't want that to be missed because we do a monthly training here in Kansas City, and one of the girls that stood up and did a presentation about blitzing, that's exactly what she does. She puts a Post-it note on her blitz card, so when she hands that blitz card off, it's an instant reminder to yank that Post-it note and, hey, I'm going to get your information. What I'm notorious for doing, and this goes back to what Mike was saying, man, you've got to build a conversation based on rapport. You can't stealth blitz and get information from people. That ain't going to work. Not that there's anything against stealth blitzing, but I subscribe to Mike's theory, too. I think the blitz is about your communication. And so I'm notorious for when I get into that conversation, when I know I've gotten to that level of rapport, I say, here, let me text you some before and after pictures. You're going to be blown away. Most people, if you just say, hey, give me your number, I want to send you a picture, you're not going to believe this. What's their natural reaction? They give it to you. That's just the natural thing that they do. When you tell someone to do it, that's more times than not their first instinct is to just reply. Okay, well, it's this. And that has worked immensely for me, just FYI. So the Post-it note is huge. Grabbing, being able to shoot a text with before and after pics, which is kind of what you were saying too, Mike, dead on with that stuff. So this has been a great call, great information. You guys want to leave anything on the table here before we close this out?
Now, the only thing I would leave is, I agree with Fred was saying. You obviously help your spouse in any way, shape, or form. But if this is what you're going to do for a business, then run it like a business. Get out there yourself and start finding people. And again, this is a rapport business. It's a contact sport. The more people you come in contact with, the more you're going to sell.
Yep, agreed. Fred, anything else?
Yeah, and I'm on that journey where I'm going to be taking and doing this full time. I firmly believe that in order for me to get to there is I need to learn something about this business every day, learn something new, and that's my goal. So you as guys, learn something new about the business every day. Do some research, find something out, and that will help you grow and evolve to the point where you're comfortable retiring, rewiring.
So just for fun, are you guys both, I hope, familiar with the color personalities? Are you guys familiar with that? Personality colors?
Yes.
Mike, you're a red, aren't you?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and Fred, you're a green, aren't you?
I tend to be a little bit greenish, yeah.
Hey, I'm going to leave you with that. If I could give you one nugget of information to take away from this call, It is learn the personality colors and what they mean, man. Understanding people helps you understand how to communicate with them, and then helps you build that rapport that Mike was talking about. Hey, guys, I love you both a ton. Thanks so much for being on this call. You guys did a great job, and we'll be in touch soon. Hope to see you in Hotlanta because that's where we're headed for the boot camp. See you guys.
All right, thanks, buddy.
See ya.